Picture this. The year is 1914 and the world is about to descend into a conflict of unprecedented scale. A cataclysmic clash ensues between two powerful alliances, the Triple Entente, made up of Britain, France, and Russia, and the Triple Alliance comprising Germany, Austria-Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria. It's a war like no other, a war that will redraw the map, redefine power, and reshape societies. By the time the guns fell silent in 1918, the world had been irrevocably changed. So, what sparked this global conflagration, you ask? The answer is a convergence of many factors, a perfect storm of conditions that once set into motion became an unstoppable force. Let's delve into the roots of this conflict, the seeds that would eventually grow into the towering inferno of the First World War. At the heart of it all was the rising tide of nationalism, an intense devotion to one's nation, often coupled with a sense of superiority and a desire for dominance. This fervor was not confined to a single nation. It was a wave that swept across Europe, fueling rivalries, stirring up tensions, and drawing lines in the sand. Mirroring this nationalism was the age-old practice of imperialism, the expansion of a country's power and influence through colonization, use of military force, or other means. The world had become a chessboard, with powerful nations vying for control of territories and resources. This struggle for dominance brought nations head-to-head, escalating rivalries to a boiling point. Adding fuel to this fire was a complex web of alliances. Europe was a tangled knot of promises and agreements, each nation tied to another in a dizzying array of alliances. These alliances, meant to ensure mutual protection, ironically set the stage for a larger-scale conflict. When one nation was threatened, others were drawn in, escalating a regional dispute into a global war. And then, there was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. The heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne was gunned down in the summer of 1914, an event that served as the immediate trigger for the war. This assassination, seen as an act of aggression against the Austro-Hungarian Empire, set off a chain reaction of events, activating those alliances and turning simmering tensions into active conflict. These were the seeds of conflict, each one a critical ingredient in the powder keg that was Europe at the dawn of the 20th century. These tensions, like a powder keg, would soon ignite a world at war. The First World War was unlike any conflict humanity had seen before. It was a clash of titans that introduced a new era of warfare, marked by groundbreaking, albeit terrifying, technological advancements. The war saw the birth and widespread use of tanks. These mechanical beasts, clad in armor and armed with devastating firepower, rumbled across the battlefields, bringing a new level of destruction to the fray. Their arrival heralded a shift in the dynamics of warfare, rendering traditional cavalry charges obsolete and introducing a more mechanized form of combat. In the skies, aircraft, once the playthings of inventors and daredevils, took on a more sinister role. Reconnaissance flights gave way to bombing raids, turning the heavens into a new battlefield. Aerial warfare, once a fanciful idea, had become a terrifying reality. But perhaps the most chilling innovation was the use of chemical weapons. Deadly gases, unseen yet devastating, were unleashed on the battlefields. The end of the war in 1918 didn't mean a return to the world as it was. Instead, it marked the beginning of a profound transformation, a seismic shift in the global political and social landscape. The guns might have fallen silent, but their echoes reverberated for decades, shaking the foundations of empires and societies alike. Consider the empires that had once commanded power and respect. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, a political behemoth that had held sway over Central Europe for centuries, crumbled under the weight of nationalistic fervor. The Ottoman Empire, once the envy of the world, with its diverse cultures, religions, and traditions, was carved up, its territories doled out amongst the victors. And then there was the Russian Empire, brought to its knees by revolution and civil war, emerging from the ashes as the Soviet Union, a new force on the global stage. The immediate aftermath was just as tumultuous. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in the Hall of Mirrors, was intended to secure lasting peace. Yet it planted the seeds of resentment and discontent, particularly in Germany, burdened by punitive reparations and territorial losses. This was a peace treaty that ironically laid the groundwork for another devastating conflict 2 decades later. Then came the establishment of the League of Nations, a noble experiment in international diplomacy. Born out of the ashes of the war, it aimed to resolve disputes through dialogue rather than bullets and bombs. Despite its eventual failure, it served as a precursor to the United Nations, a testament to humanity's enduring hope for a peaceful, united world. The world had been reshaped, its old order swept away, but in its place emerged a new one, as complex and fraught as its predecessor. This was a world forever marked by the First World War, a world that had learned the true cost of global conflict, and a world that would continue to grapple with its legacy for years to come. But the war's impact wasn't just political, it left deep scars on economies and cultures worldwide. Imagine the world economy as a ship sailing smoothly on calm waters. Suddenly, a storm called the First World War sweeps in, creating massive waves that destabilize the vessel. Economies worldwide were shaken to their core, leading to devastating crises and dramatic transformations. The war caused a colossal drain of resources and manpower, sparking hyperinflation in countries like Germany. This economic turbulence set the stage for the Great Depression of the 1930s. But the war also forced societies to innovate and adapt. Industries that had been nascent before the war, like aviation and chemical manufacturing, rapidly expanded to meet wartime demands. This led to technological advancements that would shape the 20th century. On the flip side, these changes often came at a high human cost, with workers facing dangerous conditions and long hours. The war's cultural impact was equally profound, giving rise to movements that reflected the disillusionment and trauma of the time. Picture the Dadaism movement, born in the heart of Zurich in the middle of the war. Dadaism was an artistic and literary movement that rejected logic, reason, and the aestheticism of capitalist society. Instead, it embraced nonsense, irrationality, and anti-bourgeois protest in their art. This was a direct response to the horrors of war, a rebellion against the nationalism that had led to such devastation. Another cultural shift was the changing role of women. As men went off to fight, women stepped into roles previously deemed unsuitable for them. They worked in factories, drove ambulances, and served as nurses on the front lines. This shift challenged traditional gender roles and laid the groundwork for the women's rights movements of the 20th century. In the wake of the First World War, societies worldwide had to grapple with economic disarray and cultural upheaval. But from these ashes rose new ways of thinking, new industries, and a new world order. The echoes of the war resonated far beyond the battlefield, shaping the world we live in today. So, what is the legacy of the First World War, and why does it matter today? The First World War was a seismic event that reshaped our globe, leaving indelible marks on the fabric of societies. Its reverberations are still felt today, a century later. It was a war that dismantled empires, redrew world maps, and set the stage for the geopolitical struggles of the 20th century. The war taught us harsh lessons about the cost of nationalism, imperialism, and complex alliances. It showed us how technological advancements, while propelling us forward, can also amplify our capacity for destruction. The trenches and battlefields bore witness to human resilience, but also to the horrors we're capable of inflicting upon each other. This global conflict also sparked social and political changes that have shaped our modern world. It led to the rise of new nations and ideologies and to the fall of ancient empires. It forced us to confront the fragility of peace and the necessity of diplomacy, leading to the establishment of international bodies aimed at preventing such devastation from recurring. Understanding the legacy of the First World War is crucial because it underscores the importance of learning from our past. It serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked aggression and the need for diplomatic solutions to international conflicts. As we remember the First World War, we're reminded of the profound impact of our actions on the course of history and the importance of striving for a world of peace.